Good morning, good morning. Can you guys hear me well? Can you guys see my chart? Just want to make sure that's all good. Looks like the internet here is pretty good. So I just want to make sure you guys can see my chart, see me talk, hear me talking, and then see my drawings. And if we're good to go, then we can get started. NASDAQ 100, certainly can take a look after when I start. Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. Thank you again for your time. No problem, man. Been doing this for years, so looking very happy to keep doing these streams. And even if on a vacation, as long as the internet as long as the internet is good for the Airbnb, then I'm happy to host a stream. So you can see I'm in a different place today. I'm in Victoria. Just stay on the Airbnb, and still got a few days here that I'm going to enjoy. But it's only 7 a.m. here for me in Canada, so it's still quite early. But that's why these streams are okay for me to do, because I can finish the stream, I can go on with my day, right? So if everyone is good, it's 14 o'clock GMT now. So why don't we get started now? Let's do what I did kind of from the last weekly outlook. Last weekly outlook on Monday, I kind of did a different approach. I kind of go with the flow of what everyone is talking. Like I'll go over a few things that I want to go over, but after I'll just kind of go with what you guys are asking. So if you have any pairs or anything that you're watching or looking out for, so you can let me know, and I'll kind of just go with the response from there. All right, so a little bit different than what I used to do, but good afternoon. Oh, thank you, Susan. I can hear you loud and clear. Great, nice to hear that. So let's get started now. Just quickly update of like these positions that I wanted to quickly update. So as you guys know, I'm in dollar yen. I talk about the dollar yen sell. I mentioned about this ascending channel is a very good potential reversal. We don't know if it's going to break out here or is it going to move out a little bit more to break out. In this case, it moved up a little bit higher, right? We move up a little bit higher, but nothing changes from the price action point of view. Instead, we form even a smaller ascending channel here, and that's when I look for an entry. I still like this overall down move. I think there's lots of risk reward here that we can potentially gain, and this potential move, it's almost looking like, if we zoom out here, I like how on a higher time frame it looks like that M style pattern that I talk about a lot. I like how this is potentially the top here, and basically looking for a sell down to the low. I think there's quite a bit of risk reward here that we can gain, and if the price does indeed break off from this higher time frame channel, ascending channel, I'll definitely looking for some sort of scaling entry if I can get that, and then look for the sell down to the previous low. So very clean plan, very good price action. So looking for that in the next couple of days. I also got in, if I can see, I also got in silver. I also got in silver just in the morning as well. I think I talk about silver quite a bit of time. Mention about that there is a very good opportunity that we could potentially look for a short-term sell. Now silver, as we know, we're in this higher time frame kind of consolidation, kind of parallel channel. We know that this is an impulsive movement. I mentioned that for a correction to finish, we need a few swing highs and a few swing lows. So naturally, in my opinion, we are going to see one more downside, at least to potentially to this low or even just to this low here, and then look for the long-term up move, right? That's kind of how I see this. So I like how we are basically forming that continuation correction. And in that continuation correction, I saw there is good lower time frame development. So we have this kind of mini double top here. We have this ascending channel reversal. So first bearish impulse down, and then continuation correction, right? Also making a head and shoulder as well. So basically we have all these bearish confluence. We have this head and shoulder. We have this continuation correction for this move. And the overall move from here, we have this ascending channel, we push down, continuation correction, looking for the sell down to either here or either the bottom here. I think there's, even for this trade I got in, it's pretty good risk reward already. I think about 9 to 1 or so. So if this does push down, great. I want to see if it's going to break out from the bottom here. and then eventually continue down to either here or the bottom of the higher time frame channel. Right, so these are the two positions, and I think also I got tagged in. Let me just double check. I think I got tagged into Euro Dollar CAD as well. Dollar CAD mentioned about this potential up move. We talk about that from the bottom here. We already see this reversal, right? We see this reversal correction from the bottom. I know a bunch of us was able to get in on this potential bullish move. The bullish move has happened already, and I mentioned wait for continuation correction because we want to see this descending channel on the higher time frame is a big reversal, right? I want to see the breakout and then continue either to this previous high or the next higher time frame high as well. Okay, so these are the three positions. Let me just double check. Yeah, so I got tagged in on dollar CAD as well, right? So I'm in dollar yen, dollar CAD, and silver as well. Okay, so these are the three trades I'm currently running, and then I'll take it from there. So that is it. I don't think I'm going to enter any other positions. They all look pretty okay now, and I'm just going to see how these positions are going to develop, and then take it from there. All right. So let's get started now. I do want to point out a few pairs or few potential, and then I'll take it, and then I'll go with what you guys are looking at and take it from there. Because we talk about dollar CAD, right? I do want to talk about oil really quick, and we'll kind of go from there. Talk about oil. I think oil is definitely something that I need or will be watching out for closely. If we look at the higher time frame here, this is clearly a top that the price is reaching to already, right? And I mentioned this a few times that when we see a potential previous top, especially a top that had a strong reversal, right? This is clearly a higher time frame ascending channel, and this is clearly a higher time frame bearish impulsive phase, right? So it's very clear that this is a previous high here, and you can see there is really no other high here except this all the way higher, and I don't think price is going to reach that in any time soon. And I like how price is approaching to this high, and we can see a little bit more kind of lower time frame development here, not as a more in-depth ascending channel like the previous one, but it is still a corrective move to the upside. So certainly this top here is going to give us some good potential. And again, lower time frame is going to confirm for us if we're going to get further downside, right? So when I talk about this potential move, I like how this move continued to move up, move up, move up. There was a short here that I personally took for a loss maybe a few weeks ago. I can't remember. There was this short position that I personally entered, but just didn't end up pushing down, and it just had a reversal. So I took a loss there. But when I see price continue to develop pretty much into this ascending channel and reaching to this double top here, and then I like how there is a really strong bearish reversal on the lower time frame. So this is clearly a lower time frame impulsive move, right? And it's basically breaking out of this smaller ascending channel. And I do see there is a continuation correction here that is pretty much developing, and it's already kind of dropping, right? So this is certainly going to fuel dollar CAD and maybe a couple other dollar pairs as well. So that's kind of how I see it. I do want to see this move potentially push down here to the bottom of this structure, and eventually push out and further continuation if that's possible. So that is oil. I really like oil because it's just from a technical perspective, right? Technical perspective, that's all I look at, all I do my charts on. I do think there's a pretty good potential opportunity for a bearish reversal. Okay. We love you, Jojo. Nice to see you, buddy. Thank you. So that's oil. While we're on commodities, why don't we go through a couple of the commodities now? Why don't we go through gold? As you guys know, my bias here on gold is pretty much the same as silver, right? I do want to see lower time frame bearish move. I do want to see lower time frame bearish move for the price here. If it's going to push down here, and then potentially looking for the big up move, right? Same thing as silver, nothing changes here. My bias here is still looking to see if this is going to be a continuation correction to push the price down. That is what I want to see for the price. And overall, we talk about how because gold couldn't break out from this descending channel, it broke out, but it didn't break, it didn't continue. Right? I mentioned this a few times. I showed this because I want to let everyone understand how price is, even though we broke out of this channel, but there is no further upside move. So basically the price is just evolving into a bigger kind of channel, but nothing changes from a price action point of view because this becomes a reversal correction and it pushes down, right? So as it's forming a lower time frame continuation here, basically it's telling you that we are going to likely see another down move and hitting the bottom potentially here, whether it's going to be this kind of low here or is it going to hit the bottom here. Going to look for a big reversal up move afterwards. All right, so looking for potential sell, right? Potential sell on the lower time frame. So if we dig a little bit deeper here on the lower time frame, looks like we push down from the price, and then obviously we're going to fall into a consolidation. And I like how there is kind of a mini ascending channel pushing up, and there's another push down for the price, and this could be like a continuation correction for the price. So if this is going to push down lower and go down, I do want to see gold pushing down, potentially pushing out of this correction as well. Right, that is kind of what I want to see, and then eventually reaching the low here. Okay, so but like I said, these are all more of like a short-term bearish kind of bias, right? I do preferably see price drop down because that way we can be looking for the long-term buy because gold has been climbing up so much already. You can see this is clearly a massive bullish impulse for the price. Again, such an impulsive phase, naturally we're going to see consolidation phase, right? That is just how the market moves. So even though this potential move that I talked about didn't continue, all that is telling us that we're just going to see another downside potentially, and then from the bottom here and then start reversing up, right? So that is gold. Do want to go over a few other commodities. I went over these in my commodity videos. If you guys are interested, you can watch this one, commodity mid to long-term outlook. Went over a bunch of commodities here, but quickly going over is that I'm more seeing a more of a bearish kind of bias, right? So for copper here, this is, if I zoom out here, copper here is the higher time frame double top, right? This is clearly a higher time frame double top. The price is failing to break above. And on lower time frame, we start seeing some impulse correction, right? So this can certainly be another bearish continuation. Once it finishes, it can likely to push down to the low here. And what I want to ultimately see is if this is going to be some sort of head and shoulder pattern. So a big reversal while at the top of the overall price. So higher time frame double top, we have head and shoulder at the top of the overall structure and basically looking for a potential sell opportunity if it's going to break down afterwards. Okay, so that is copper, and last one I want to go over is platinum. I think platinum is also looking good from a higher time frame perspective. Talk about this in that impulsive phase to the downside, and naturally price is in a bigger kind of expanding correction. Like I say, expanding structure sometimes gets a little bit more tricky, but the confirmation, or at least the bias here, is that there has a double top here, and price pushed up first but failed to continue higher. Instead, it's basically having a reversal impulse correction and push down now. So on the lower time frame, we see this clear impulsive move, and this is a clear kind of a parallel channel structure. And I saw some guys were selling here from the downside, so good for you if you caught that. Looks like we're going to correction a little bit here and then basically push down a little bit lower. So we'll see how this correction develops and eventually lead to another downside move. Okay, so these are pretty much a commodity. Went through oil, silver, gold, platinum, and copper in terms of commodities. Any question here, guys? If not, I'm going to move on to the currency section now. Yeah, you're welcome. Morning, Steve. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Victoria. Hello, everyone. What's my thought on Tesla? So I'll quickly jump over to Tesla really quick. My bias on Tesla is going to be the buy, right? To me, I talk about how price has already moved up massively in this sense, and mention about this to me is a continuation correction. So I do want to see further upside. If we get a correction here, it looks like it's already getting correction here on the lower time frame. Do expect this move to continue to the all-time high here. Whereas sometimes this is going to end up reversing down, but overall price doesn't change, right? This is still a bullish impulsive phase. This is just a correctional period. So just because this part or this time price doesn't form a continuation to go higher, it doesn't neglect this correction here. All of this is telling us that we can maybe see one more move down, but naturally the structure just evolved into the same continuation, just a bigger correction now. And from the bottom here, if we're going to get reversals, the same idea, we're going to see bullish reversal, and this is going to be a bullish impulse, right? So impulse, correction, impulse. So nothing changes from a correction point of view. All it is that the correction gets bigger or it's evolving, but the correctional phase, the consolidation phase doesn't change. We're still likely to get the next impulsive phase to the upside. Okay, so that is Tesla. Okay, so just quickly update other equities that I pointed out. I think Zoom is also good. I was looking to see if we're going to get a bullish continuation for the price. So this is clearly impulsive phase, continuation, correction. We break out, right? We break out, and I was kind of looking to see if we're going to get continuation. It kind of just continued to pop to the upside. So really, to me, is going to be waiting for a continuation. I think that's going to be a little bit safer to buy. So look for a continuation here if it's going to develop. So that is all in terms of equities I want to talk about. I did made a post on Nike as well, just a quick update as well. Sometimes people ask me about why don't I trade equities, and I talk about a few times. I don't day trade them, but I would invest in them, right? Buy shares and then hold it for long term. I don't need to look at the equity charts every day, things like that, right? This is where I got my Nike shares. I'm just holding through this, and I like how this is already showing you a clear impulse, clear correction, clear impulse breaking up. So naturally, if it's going to be continuation here, continuation, correction, continuation price action, I certainly expect this to continue higher, right? Very straightforward. When you see price clearly impulse, clearly correction, clearly impulse, right? That is showing you that it's in a bullish kind of trend or bullish kind of phase. So it's going to add momentum to you if you're looking for a potential buy like that, right? All this COVID crash is recovered by a bullish impulse, correction, bullish impulse, correction. So bullish impulse afterwards, bullish correction, expect further upside afterwards. All right, so that's kind of what I want to touch on in terms of equity. Let's quickly go over the NASDAQ indices. I see what you guys, I see some of you guys are asking about NASDAQ, so I'll quickly go over NASDAQ as well. So I'll go over a few of these indices as well, since we're on the indices section. So yeah, personally, my personal bias here is still a bearish kind of potential, right? Talk about this in the weekly outlook. Mention about this ascending channel moving up correctively. If this just continue move upside, and really, like I said, no entries, right? No interest in, just let the price continue going higher. We're not going to enter because of some high test candle or some bearish engulfing or whatever that people usually will look for itself. To me, is going to be that complete breakout for the price. Right? I need to see price breakout and then continuation, looking for downside to the low. So if only this move happens, right? Only if the impulsive move breaking out and then followed by continuation, then I will consider a potential sell. If none of these confirm or if none of these conditions are met, then I'm not going to be entering any positions. Okay, so it's always important to have a plan, have an entry plan, and instead of just kind of going with your emotion or going with an impulsive decision, right? It's always good to understand what is your entry criteria, what do you want to see first, what do you want to wait for before you enter. So if If these don't happen, then you move on, you don't enter, and go on with other opportunities, right? But if it does happen, you're prepared to enter, you're already set up how you want to enter, and then look for the downside to the low if it does break down, and then following by continuation after, right? So that is NASDAQ. Not much else on the other indices. S&P 500 did a quick update in the weekly outlook, in my opinion. Just kind of to see what the top will do. If this is going to continue higher, then obviously no interest in, right? But if it does push down and continuation, then I will be looking for a potential sell move down to the previous low. US 30. So US 30, I mentioned about this top here. I see the price is already a little bit consolidated, or it's a little bit slowing down now. This can easily still push up, and then probably I more be inclined to see it push higher, breaking the previous all-time high, and then kind of had a reversal push down afterwards, and then looking for the continuation here. I see this happen over and over again, where it breaks the all-time high or breaks some support resistance, breaks some trend line, catching a lot of impatient trader to start buying here without any further confirmation, right? If this is going to go higher, wait for price to break out of the high and wait for correction before you buy. Whereas if it just breaks a high and then it quickly had a sharp move to the downside, then this is clearly a false breakout, catching impatient traders, and then basically impulse down followed by continuation and then push down lower. All that is telling you that the structure becomes an expanding structure, and potentially in this move becomes a reversal correction here and then downside afterwards. So patient is super key, right? There's really no point jumping into the trade if there's nothing developing here, whether it's a buy that you're looking for or whether it's a sell that you're looking for. I don't think it's ready. I don't think there's much development here, but it could develop in the next couple of days or in the next few hours, who knows, right? But important thing, once again, is being patient here and waiting for the right development. All right, so that is US 30 or Dow Jones. If NASDAQ drop, where will be the strong support? I personally don't really trade support resistance. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Everyone trades differently, but I would say this is a previous low that I would watch out for, at least to see what the price will do if this all happens, right? So if this push down, if a correction happens, then I would consider a potential entry, and I will see if the price can hit this low, preferably looking to see if it's going to bounce out from here or is it going to break out and then continuation afterwards. Okay, so that is kind of how I see on NASDAQ. So Victoria, so US dollar yen, I guess the movement is over. What is your take? I don't think the movement is over. I personally don't. I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe you think this is a pullback or maybe this is over. It depends on how you enter and what's your plan, right? Because when I enter this position, I think there's a lot of bearish confluence in my eye. I like how there's a double top here. There's an impulsive move pushing down. Then this is a ascending channel, right? I went over this in the beginning. And a smaller ascending channel while in the bigger ascending channel. And again, if you look at the higher time frame, this is usually how the market will catch traders buying it when the actual move is showing you a potential sell move like this, right? Because this first potential breakout barely break out this higher time frame kind of parallel channel, and then had the first bearish reversal. And then when it start inclining up, a lot of people are start buying here. But you can clearly see this move here in this channel is rather corrective. It's really not in a impulsive move, right? You can clearly see this is rather corrective. This is an impulsive move. This is an impulsive move, but this is not an impulsive move. So there is really a big difference here. So to me, this is just a corrective move pushing up. I love how it break the previous high here, and then there's a lot of bearish kind of price action. So to me, even if this reversal, I haven't even moved it to break even yet. I'm actually happy to hold this trade because this can easily form into a head and shoulder, something like this, and then drop down afterwards. So I'm happy, or I'm fine to hold the trade. I'm happy to take a loss here if That makes sense because that's how trading is, right? You have setups that you take, and when you do over and over again, you're happy to take them because you can't control the result of the trade, but you can control your entry and how you want to manage it, right? So to me, I'm happy to hold it. I'm happy to see if it's going to consolidate it here a little bit more, forming a head and shoulder, ascending channel, higher time frame ascending channel, higher time frame double top, looking for this bearish move down, right? Even with this potential move that I entered, it's about 8.3 to 1. So I'm fine taking a 1% loss, but if I can actually get 8% here, in addition, if I can break out followed by a lower time frame continuation, I'm going to double this potential run to the downside, right? So all that is really just perspective, right? There's nothing wrong if some of us are thinking, oh, this move isn't going to break out now, right? It doesn't matter, right? Because it's all about how you plan or how you want to take these positions. For me, I'm happy to hold through this position and then to see if we're going to break out. Once we break out, then certainly I can move it to break even or a little bit of profit, and then I'll look for scaling opportunities. Okay, so that's really what I think about dollar yen. Hope that makes sense. Rules Coffee, thank you for your effort to putting this kind of valuable teaching on the internet. Hey, no problem. I've been doing this for a year. I have a lot more content on YouTube, right? So you're on my YouTube channel, so you're welcome to watch all my YouTube videos, right? Because all my price action videos are all in here. So if you're interested in playlists, price action analysis, this is basically everything you'll learn from me regarding price action, all the price action structures and patterns. So you're welcome to watch that. What do you think about euro dollar? I will go over euro dollar. Guys. No problem. Dollar yen broke the descending channel. Do you think this is a false breakout? Yeah, I kind of basically mentioned if I think this is what you meant. I think this is what you meant in terms of descending channel. Yeah, I think it's a false breakout because false breakout here, we push down and we're not moving up impulsively, right? If we're going to break out of this higher time frame kind of structure, we're going to see continuation correction to go higher, but we're really not seeing that, right? I think this is the key here is I mentioned that this is a corrective move, right? This is not an impulsive move. Like impulsive move for the market is something like this, right? When we see a descending channel, we see an inverse head and shoulder, and we see a strong impulse breakout. This is an impulsive move, right? This is clearly a massive impulsive move. Whereas you can see that this is an impulsive move, but this is not, right? Where we are right now. This is more corrective, right? This is correctively moving up versus impulsively moving up. There is a huge difference between the two of them, right? This is something that just takes time and effort to identify, right? Obviously, it doesn't come right away, but this is a clear impulsive move. This is clearly a corrective move, and that's why it leads me to more having a bearish bias rather than a bullish bias. Especially, it just broke the previous recent top and then basically had a reversal impulse down. That's why all this to me is more of a bearish confluence rather than a bullish continuation, at least from my point of view. All right, so that is dollar yen. Hope that makes sense. Maybe up, yeah. So let's go to euro dollar now. And so some of you guys are asking euro dollar. So let's take a look at euro dollar. Look at dollar can just push up, right? Holy, I didn't even realize that it just pushes up so much. So basically, just got tagged in and still running. Wow, just hit like almost 1%, literally in like half an hour. But let's take a look at a few dollar pairs now. As you guys know, my bias here on the dollar has been strength ever since, right? I've been talking about my bias on dollar has always been strength, and I like how dollar itself, like dollar index, has really just been pushing up massively. And originally I was looking at this move. I wanted to see if this is going to make another move down here, something like this, and then push up higher. But looks like the momentum is rather strong, right? You can almost think this is a potential correction here, and this looks like it's just pushing up higher now, right? So this is all good in terms of the dollar overall. I think the dollar can eventually reach this high here, and then we'll see if this is going to be a previous double top to push down the price, or we're going to continue higher. Okay, but looks like right now because of how this move has already happened, I do reasonably think we're going to hit this top here, and then we'll reevaluate to see what will happen at the top here, right? So if we look at a few dollars, let's say like euro dollar. So euro dollar looks like it's pushing down much more. I keep seeing people posting they're looking for buys, and I mean, usually I'm not the one to tell people right or wrong, because that's always I say, right? Be respectful and honest with everyone, right? Different trading method and things like that. But it just looks like the bearish momentum is a little bit stronger than the bull bias, right? You can see that from the top here, we already pushed down massively, right? This is the previous sell that I think a lot of us caught in terms of the sell setup here. We pushed down on the price. I had a quick pullback. I was able to exit the trade here because I wasn't know if it's going to form a deeper correction. So I didn't want to hold through a deeper pullback and then potentially giving back the profit back to the market. And at the time, when I see this potential low, I was kind of expecting the price to push up higher and then look for sell from this. But again, it's the same as dollar index. The momentum is so strong that all it needs is this really quick pullback, right? So we have this impulse down, correction, and we're just impulsing down again. So looks like we're just going to continue lower, right? It forms a little bit of correction. We push down lower. There's also another mini lower correction here. If you go into the lower time frame, it looks like we're just pushing down harder and harder. So we're going to see what happened in this previous low. I do think this is reasonably to push down to this previous low, right? This is the same as dollar index that I went over. This is the previous high. So I want to see how the price will react to the low. So if you're already in the sell on euro dollar, I definitely do think you can just hold it to this bottom here and then see how the price will develop further. I think the sell already happened, so if you missed the sell, I don't recommend jumping like this now. I think the sell is right here, right? This is clearly a impulse down followed by a correction. I think the sell is right here. I chose dollar CAD instead, but I think it's the same thing. I think all the dollars are pretty much getting bearish, and I do reasonably expect to push down to this low here and then see what happens, right? Just to understand that when we hit this low, price is likely to react, right? It can either have a big reversal up move and then we're start going to see this as a double bottom and push up, or we're just going to break through completely, which is kind of what I want to see, and then continuation further. Okay, so that is euro dollar. Hope that makes sense. Hope that explains kind of my view on it. Like I said, it's best to have your own analysis and have your own view. Because I saw a bunch of other guys are looking for dollar weakness, whether it's euro dollar or dollar CAD. Because I saw in my Telegram some of you guys are looking at a potential sell on dollar CAD. Now I saw the charts, and like I said, I don't want to say right and wrong because that's always what I mentioned. Like no right and wrong as long as you follow your plan. So two of you guys are looking for the dollar CAD sell. If dollar CAD has only these price action, like there's no years of data, there's no previous price action, then yeah, I would say this potentially could be a double top. If this is all the price, all the years of data, this is all we're seeing, then I would agree this could be a double top here. But if we just simply zoom out here and see what the price is doing, right? Look how far the price has already pushed down since COVID time, right? All the way from 1.45 dropping down to like 1.20. So the sell or the bearish move has pretty much already happened, right? You just have to understand. And when we see this higher time frame descending channel very correctively moving down, and we had this reversal correction, massive bullish impulse to upside followed by a continuation correction. To me, all these are more bullish confluence rather than bearish, right? So sometimes when we're in doubt or when we're not clear, just scroll your mouse and zoom out and see what happens, and that's going to give you a better understanding of the market. Don't be too zoom in, because when I find traders are too zoom in, they end up just looking at the lower time frame, like 15 minutes, 5 minutes, because they're so eager to enter a position and also trying to make massive profit in their small account, which ends up backfiring a lot of times, right? So be patient, zoom out, understanding how the market structures work, and then make decision accordingly. I think that's going to help you in the long run. Okay. Hey, Trusty Harry, nice to see you, buddy. So hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense on the dollar one. So we went over dollar cap, right? We went over euro dollar. Let's take a look at a few other dollar pair like Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, remember when I make the dollar video on kind of what I see on dollars in general, I mentioned pretty much a lot of these dollars are likely to make a bigger consolidation, right? So Aussie dollar here, I expect move to push down and then come up higher, right? So basically it did that, right? From this, we had this descending channel. This is well NFP, but all NFP does is push the price up, forming a bigger correction and then downside resume afterwards. And that's a really good clear sign from the market, which is kind of what I like to see. Now we broke this previous low now, and it looks like this is going to be a continuation correction for this bearish move. So expect price to eventually break out this low, right? Eventually break out this low and potentially falling down and then continuation further downside. Okay, it's going to be very, very similar like Kiwi dollar. Kiwi dollar also have this bearish move down for the price. And when I mentioned about this pullback is rather steep, so I know that it's likely to make that push down and then push up, at least forming a few swing highs and few swing lows to form a bigger correction for this bearish move down and then continuation afterwards, right? Mentioned this in the video a couple of times when I update the dollar ones, right? So it's basically doing that. So there's a few of these dollar pairs are pretty much playing out exactly those. If I can find it somewhere in the video, sorry. But just wanted to point out when we see these deeper pullback correction, right? It's a very steep kind of pullback. Usually gives you a sign that we're going to fall into a deeper correction and then resume the downside afterwards. Okay, so that's Kiwi dollar. Went over euro dollar. Not much on pound dollar as you guys update as I updated. I mentioned I took a 1% profit here as this price push up on NFP. Again, I don't get negative or drag on something like this way too much, because I often hear traders get upset because of the news events. Now, think about this way: can you control news events? We cannot, right? There's no one can control news events. So why get upset at something you cannot control? Control things that you can control, like moving your stop loss, manage your trade accordingly. Things like that are things that you can control within with respect to your trading and trading plan. Don't drag too much about things you cannot control, right? So after the NFP news, price push up pretty massively. I was originally wanting to see if we're going to find some sort of lower time frame correction, something like this, and I can actually exit the trade even earlier. But price just keep pushing up, so I follow my plan. I move the stop loss to 1%, and then pretty much just take me out here. And then eventually form into a bullish continuation and push up anyways, would have taken me out for break even if I haven't move the stop loss to 1% profit, right? So again, management is key. Now, what I see on pound dollar now is same thing. Originally I thought this move can eventually push up higher from here, and I was looking for the sell from the top. Kind of same approach or same kind of forecast like euro dollar, but again, it's kind of just push up here from NFP and then still resume the downside. Now, if you guys have been following me, I've been talking about pound dollar for many times. I like the pound dollar breakout from the price, right? We had this period consolidation. We finally break out of this ascending channel and the higher time frame ascending channel as well. So certainly can expect further downside opportunity. And the the area that we want to watch out for is this previous low, right? Price indeed kind of pull back and continue, but I do want to see how it will break this previous low and then continue further downside. So just watch out for the price here, whether or not it's going to break through and then continue. That's what we were looking for. Or the odd time it might move down correctively and push out to form a bullish reversal. So just watch out this low here. Once it breaks this low and form continuation correction, I think it's going to be very clear for looking for further downside. All right, so that is pound dollar. So went over Kiwi dollar as well, right? Do you increase your stop during a news event? Never. I don't think you should. I think that question is not complete. Do you increase your stop during a news event? Do you mean a trade that's already entered, or you're about to enter a trade? If you already enter a trade, I would never move the stop loss, no matter what. I think that's a little bit of rookie mistake that we need to work on. I used to make that mistake all the time when beginning my trading career, so that's a good lesson. What I mean by that is when a news event happens, right? Like say like pound dollar, when this happens, if you're in the position, like let's say the trade is hovering around break even or at a loss, you should never move your stop loss even higher just to hope that the news will peg you out and come back, right? A lot of time, one of the news just shoots up like this, and by you keep moving the stop loss higher and higher, you just keep taking unnecessary losses, right? This is why a lot of beginner traders make this kind of mistakes where they're not, they're not. What do I want to say? They're not believing in their trading plan or strategy. They probably haven't backtested enough where their confidence in their strategy. So what ends up happening is they enter a position, they know a news is coming. When the news comes up higher, they're going to keep moving their stop loss higher and higher and higher. Maybe a couple times that may work, price reverse down, and then the person was thinking, well, that's great, I can keep doing that, or maybe I shouldn't even move a stop loss. But what if the price just continue going up? So by not honoring your stop loss, by keep moving your stop loss higher, for one position, that person is taking a massive loss to their account, and they don't even know what went wrong here, right? So to me, never move your stop loss or never increase your stop loss in any news event or anything in general, because your 1% stop loss is calculated to your 1% account, right? By moving your stop loss away or higher, then you're just putting your account at 2% risk, 3%, 4%, or eventually, if that person really doesn't have risk management, then more money is lost in that sense, right? So I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. All right, so Euro pound, yeah, I will go over Euro pound. Just give me a second here. So went over all these. Someone asked about oil and US 30. Went over those earlier, but quickly going over US oil. The US oil already happened, right? So went over this a couple times. Went over this in the last few weeks or few months when we're in this kind of a corrective structure moving up. We have this double top here, smaller ascending channel in the bigger correction here. Higher time frame double top, and we see that lower time frame impulse down, right? So basically we're pushing down already, so which is good. And if we're looking at that lower time frame here, we had this bearish impulse breaking out of this ascending channel, right? Very clearly. So impulse down, followed by continuation here, pushing down lower now. This is clearly a correction here. So already this is already happening in my eye, right? This is pushing down already. So wait to see what price will do when we reach this previous low, the previous low of this ascending channel. But ultimately, I do want to see price eventually break out and then go further. I think that's kind of very clear in this case. Looking for further downside if it's going to give us more opportunity to sell. Okay. All right, so let's continue here. Went through all the dollar pairs, right? So let's take a look at a couple of yen pairs now. Now, I went over my dollar yen, right? Dollar yen, my bias here is a potential sell continuation. I do think most of the yen pairs are looking pretty bearish now. If you guys recall my weekly outlook, when the price was somewhere around here, right? Not all this bearish move has happened. I mentioned all these yen pairs probably need a little bit more development. Like I didn't really see any structures or any price action kind of patterns or anything, and I want to wait a little bit longer. But it looks like a lot of these are kind of resuming that bearish move now, which is good, right? This is kind of what we want to see. That fits my overall bias on the yen kind of bias. If I could, yeah, yen pairs. Like I made this video about yen pairs as well, so a lot of these yen pairs are pretty much playing out. So looking for continuation on most of these yen pairs, in my opinion. I think we'll go over quickly on all the yen pairs. So Kiwi yen. Kiwi yen, I talk about this a few times when price continue to correct here and then looking for that sharp downside, right? It may or may not break out here, but it ends up breaking out after the second try, right? So all it is the price action is just evolving to a bigger structure. And we did eventually see this bearish push down, but it looks like we're just going to get a correction like so. I think that's fine. Again, we have a few swing highs and a few swing low after this impulsive break, which is good. So I reasonably do think if this move does break out and then continue, we will eventually hit this previous low. This is pretty much where my original kind of second target would be if we do see this breakout and then continuation downside. So I do want to see what will happen basically after if it breaks out from this correction here. I think Aussie yen is going to be a similar thing. Now Aussie yen, the only difference here when I talk about is that it actually hit the low, right? We actually hit this previous low, which is kind of what we were looking at, and but the difference here now is it pretty much just bounced off this low and it had a bullish reversal. So I wasn't quite happy, or I wasn't quite interesting until we actually see the price breaking this low again and then continuation. But now after price develops something like this, it pretty much does look like we're going to get similar price action like Kiwi yen. Again, few swing highs, few swing lows, and then price could just consolidate here a little bit and eventually break down this low here, which is kind of what we want to see, and then lower time frame correction, right? Looking for further sell if that's going to happen. You can see that this impulsive move happened, it's followed by a correction, and then another impulsive move. This is quite sharp, right? So naturally price took a little bit longer and a deeper correction to resume the downside afterwards. So I do think this is going to give us further downside opportunity if it develops the right correction here to break below this previous low. So that's Aussie yen. A couple other yen pairs I'm gonna go over. Swiss yen is still really something that I want to keep an eye on, and I want to see if it's going to continue. Basically, talk about Swiss yen every single time. I just enjoy seeing this kind of higher time frame structure, ascending channel within the parallel channel, pushing up, and we actually have the downside move, which is great. And if we look at the lower time frame here, after this strong bearish impulse down, again, we're just falling into a consolidation. But it's like what I said on Monday, I didn't really see any price action or structures, right? I want to look for structures. I don't even want to say if this is a structure. It looks like a little bit off, right? But looks like we are actually going to continue now. I'm not too interested to sell here, but I will kind of monitor and see if this is going to break out and then continuation. It's fine to miss potential profit like this, but if you zoom out, there's just massive move to the downside potentially. So what is 100, 200 pips here if you can potentially get 800 or 900 pips here if it's going to play out, right? This obviously won't fall like a straight line. This is going to fall, correct, fall, correct, fall, correct, something like this. We might even see deeper correction here before down, but the overall bearish move is there. The overall bearish bias is there, in my opinion, and this potential move, impulse correction, calls, right? It's just very, very clean and very, very straightforward, and there's a lot of bearish confluence here. So I'm still going to be keeping an eye on this potential move. Okay, so other than that, Euro Yen, same idea here. We already break this previous low, and I mentioned once we break this previous low, if it doesn't form continuation, just watch out for some sort of pullback or some sort of correction here, and then to resume the downside. Looks like we're getting a little bit consolidation here, which is great. It's can push down past this previous low, and the most important is we need to see corrections here. A continuation correction is going to be different than these because the previous one just breaks out, but there's no continuation to go lower. That's why it pushes up. But in this case, in the current situation, if we get continuation here, definitely want to see further downside opportunity. Okay, so that should be all the yen pairs, right? That should be all the yen pairs that I'm looking at. Not seeing too much on pound yen, but I think pound yen is also pretty straightforward. Higher time frame kind of parallel channel. If we look at the higher time frame, potentially at that double top area. This is again the previous ring high area, right? So it's going to be very significant because this is also the previous kind of down move that begins. So I do want to see how this higher time frame double top or potential double top, how is it going to play out, if it's going to eventually break down and then continue lower. I think that's going to be something to watch out for in the near future. But risk management, guys, remember how you want to enter trades, how you want to risk, how your plans are, it's all up to you. But I would suggest understanding that if you're going to enter any of these yen pairs or any of the dollar pairs, it's best to just choose one or two. It's not good to choose all of them, or it's not good to, when I see people on those Instagram either just posting fake result or a demo account, they're just entering trades like here, 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 here. They're showing you all profits. Again, that's all easy to fake, right? I'm not saying all Instagram traders out there are fake. I'm just saying that a lot of these people are just showing you profit, profit, profit like this. You don't know if they're in a real account. You don't know if they're demo trading. You don't know anything about the back ends of it. But by putting yourself in multiple positions like these, you're putting your account at a greater risk because you're just entering too many positions. On the good side of it, if it works out, yeah, sure, you'll gain profits like that. But all it takes is just one move to the upside. You take 5 or 6 position losses, and if you don't risk 1%, you're risking more than you're potentially putting you lose 12 or 15% in one run. And the worst is what comes after is after taking a bunch of losses like this. All humans have that emotion to chase back their money. It's kind of called revenge trading, trying to earn back all the money that they have give back to the market and end up losing more, right? So it's not that losing money here is a bad thing. It's what comes afterwards, because the emotion side kicks in and then people get frustrated and they get emotion, they get negative, and all that backfires on the trader and then eventually lead to impulsive trading, over leverage, over trading, and blow account, and then start a cycle again. Kind of from my streams, time to time, I will bring this up in hope to help traders understand. But again, I can't convince everyone. I can't. Everyone have different perspective on how it is. So hopefully that will pass on to the traders who understand that and understand trading is a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. A lot of new traders jumping in, they want to sprint to 100 right away, from 1 to 100. They usually fail around 5 or 10 already. Whereas if you want to reach 100, gradually reach the 100, right? Start running, start hitting 10, 20, 30, 40, slowly moving up into progress. It's going to help you in the long run. What up? Any question here, guys? Any question on everything I talked about so far? I'm just gonna one more Forex pair, and then I'll see what you guys are asking, and then go from there. I'll talk about Bitcoin, all that after. So just give me a moment. I'll go through these couple other ones last, and then go from there. Euro pound. Sorry, you guys asked about Euro pound. Like Euro pound, I think is not clear. Some of you guys showed me this chart where they have this kind of channel joint, and you're pointing out a breakout and then to the upside. If this happens and hit the upside, sure, I do think it has merit for you to buy, but again, it's going to be a short-term trade, which really doesn't fit my plan to enter, because if we just zoom out here, you can see that this is clearly in a bigger, higher time frame consolidation. We had an impulse correction, an impulse. So naturally, this can lead to a further bearish continuation correction. So even if this move pushes up, all it does is potentially hitting the top of the structure here and then still resume the bearish move afterwards, right? Impulse correction, impulse. So I don't recommend buying here, in my opinion. And I don't recommend selling here because I don't think this structure is complete. I do want to see a move upside and then potentially sell from the top. I think that makes more sense rather than be buying the short-term buy here. Okay, so that's Euro Pound. That's kind of how I see it. It's really not on my watch list because I think it needs a little bit more development in this correction here. How big of a correction are you looking for? Something like Euro Yen when it breaks a low? Anything. I don't think it needs to be something big, but I think it's already consolidating here, which is kind of what we want, right? This can already be a correction if that's something that you were looking for, or this can consolidate a little bit more, right? So it's about your stop loss, right? It's about how you want to enter something like this. And sometimes this is all the correction it needs, and then just continue downside sometimes, right? And sometimes it may form into a deeper correction like this, and then still downside. We don't know, right? So if you're looking for something like this, I always talk about the entry is going to be rather important, right? I'm not going to enter here on a market order. I rarely ever enter market. I don't think I've ever entered market order ever since I started trading the way how I'm trading now. Excuse me. I don't think I've ever really entered market order. It's always entry orders because you want the price to tag you in, right? You want the price to tag you in. So basically, if you want to put an entry order below this previous low here, right? There's a previous swing low here. You put the entry below, right? And make sure your stop loss is higher than the previous high. So at least when the price does pull back, it protects your trade, right? There's a few examples of this that I can show you. I think it was pound dollar. Right? When this happened, remember, see how when I enter this position, I put this entry order below the low, I put my stop loss above the high. So you can see this move pushes up, but it didn't break this previous high. It was probably off by maybe 3 or 4 pips here, and then still resumed. And that's really the difference here about entries is I enter with the entry order, my stop loss is make sure above the previous high, right? So again, this is come from back testing, right? You can learn, you can read about it, but how you're going to utilize it, it's all comes to your individual effort of back testing and chart work so that you understand why we put the stop loss above the high here. In this case, it does help me to protect the trade and then eventually lead to the downside. Okay, so the same idea, in my opinion, on Euro Yen is if you're going to enter something like this, make sure you enter an entry order below the low and make sure the stop loss is the high, right? That is how you're going to protect your position, protect your account in this case. Okay. So hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. So let's continue here. I think one more one I want to go over is pound Swiss. I talk about pound Swiss. I think I updated you guys. I took a loss here on pound Swiss yesterday on my Telegram. So far this month I am break even. I have a pound Swiss loss. I have a pound dollar win, and then I have Swiss yen, which is break even. Again, I update all these in my Telegram channel, so you're welcome to take a look. But I reasonably do still see a potential down move from the overall price here. I like how the rising wedge reversal, sharp impulsive phase to the downside, and we fall into a deeper consolidation. This is like a parallel channel. And I mentioned about there's a few ways of potentially play out this. I do want to see this actually just push out from this current correction and then lower time frame continuation to go lower. But I also understand that the correction may or may not be complete in this current situation. So we can see a move down to the low here and move up here to the top of the structure, and then still look for a reversal move from top. I think that's going to be another sell opportunity if it does move up here and then looking for the sell. Again, the structure correction doesn't change, right? All it is telling you that this potential move is not happening currently, and then we make one more move to the upside and looking for the sell down here. And an odd chance this potential move may or may not be the one breaking out, and then we make another move up. But the more the price does that, the better it shows you that this is a period consolidation. This is likely to lead to the next impulsive phase, right? Okay, so that is pound Swiss. Any question here, guys, on this one or any other Forex pair before I go to crypto? No other pairs except the ones that I went over are on my watch list. I don't see much Euro pairs that is on my watch list. I don't see much pound pairs that's on my watch list either. So again, just focus on the ones that are shaping up or to be the better opportunities. You don't really need to trade every single pair or every single time, right? Just understand that that's going to help you. You don't need to always get involved in the market. You can be on the sideline, just waiting for development to happen. That's going to give you a better result than always want to enter positions, always want to, always have a position running and open. You don't need to do that, right? A lot of times we're just waiting for the price to develop. A lot of times when traders are waiting, they get impatient and they want to enter in, and they're taking a lot of mediocre trades or mediocre positions, which end up eating up their good trades profit, and they end up with break even or a little bit in the negative, and they're wondering what went wrong in their trading overall in this month. Well, take less trades. Don't take mediocre trades, take only higher probability trades or higher setups. That's going to help you to change that around, right? So, why do we need a Discord group? Let's go. Is the Telegram group not good for the same idea? Isn't Discord group the same idea as the Telegram group? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not familiar with Discord group. So if no other question on Forex or indices or commodities or whatever ones, I'm going to go to crypto soon. Any last minute question there before I jump to crypto? Okay, so another question. Why don't we jump to crypto now, guys? I'll jump to crypto really quick, kind of see what is shaping up. Again, I will point out a few that is looking okay. But as you guys know, I don't sell crypto. I don't like to short crypto. I will point out the bullish bias in some of these and kind of go from there. AAVE, I think this is nice. We have this kind of a descending structure pushing down, potentially a double bottom within this higher time frame structure. So this push is to the upside already. So naturally we can see potential continuation here to push up the price even to this high. Now this high is going to be important because if we can break through the high, then I agree further upside is possible. But if we cannot break the high and then we just have a reversal impulse down, then you understand this is a bigger correction to correct this bearish move, and we're likely to see further downside. So in the meantime, potentially lower time frame can be something, but also watching out this high here will be the important part. Not much in Cardano. I do see this kind of descending structure as well. We were pushing up slowly, but it's a little bit corrective, right? You can see the difference here. I think this is rather corrective push up. It's not a impulsive push up where we have identified in the past, right? There's a lot of opportunity in the past when the price is in a bullish continuation, whereas this is a little bit corrective. So you want to be careful in this area. Ethereum, yeah, Ethereum mentioned about this potential little short-term buy here or short-term push up to the price, right? So, but it's the same thing. It hasn't break out this correction first of all, and it hasn't break this high here. So all this price action while in this overall structure is not going to be right away be a bullish push up. This can just correctively push up to the top and then reverse down after. And this is just forming a correction for this overall bearish move. So don't get trapped in this kind of situation. And this is why I also mentioned I don't really like to enter a trade while it's in the consolidation, because to me this is a consolidation. While I do think there is a short-term buy, but it really doesn't fit my plan to just buy to the top of the trend line or even top to this previous high here. There's really not enough risk reward for me to consider. If we do break out and continue, that's a different story. But if we hit the high and reverse it, understanding that all of this is just creating a bigger correction for this overall move, right? So be careful of that. Any comment on FOMC report? I really don't have too much comment. I don't really, like I said, I don't really look at news. I know there's some meeting minutes, but usually it's going to be what I want to say. Usually it's going to be the report that has more issues, no? If I look at the previous one, it's usually the statement that has more impact on the overall currency rather than the report, which is what we're going to get today here, right? So, but like I said, I don't really let the news affect me, if that makes sense. I just trade how I trade. I mean, of course, news can create volatility. It can take you out. It can push the price down. But it's just, again, how I phrase it. It's nothing you can control, right? So start thinking it in a different perspective. Is that instead of thinking about things you cannot control and potentially get upset or stressed or negative about it, focus on the things you can control, right? Your entry, your management, your stop loss, your target. All those things are you as a trader can control, whereas the news event, the volatility, all that is things you cannot. So don't think about too much about things you cannot control. Focus on the things you can control, and you will slowly see the difference of that. All right. Very helpful, especially now that you're on a break. Yeah. I'm happy overall. I'm happy overall. So let's continue. Litecoin, same idea. I mentioned this in the weekly outlook. This can easily break out, but this is still the top that you need to watch out for. While I do agree there could be a short-term buy if that fits your plan, if this breaks out in a continuation to this high here again, but I don't like to trade something like this when it can easily lead to a bearish reversal. And it doesn't even need to necessarily hit the top here, right? This is just the top that I'm thinking that price may react to. Certainly, you can just push up to this and then start dropping, right? And you just have to understand sometimes price does that. So if you're entering these positions, short-term buys, whatever, just be careful in that sense, right? So. Not much else really on my watch list. I talk about this descending channel on Stellar as well. Looks like we're pushing up and there's potential a correction here. This can push us up again. This high here is the high that you need to watch out for to see if price is going to continue higher or start reversing back down, right? But short-term wise, potentially there is a buy, but again, it doesn't really fit my plan to buy here. Okay. And I think Matic also is looking good with this kind of a correctional structure. Matic is one of those after the crypto sell-off had the strong bullish impulse right after. So it comes like a impulse down and then a reversal impulse up. So I like these kind of price action. It's just this latest bit of this, it's kind of sideways consolidation, which I don't really like, right? But I reasonably do see the potential up move uh, as well, right? So I do like this potential move if it does break out impulsively and then continuation to the upside. Okay, so I think that is it for crypto, unless you guys have any other ones that you want me to go over. Doge, yeah, I think Doge, I mentioned this in the weekly outlook. I like how there's an impulse down and a bullish reversal impulse up, and this can fall into a bullish continuation. But it's really not that clean. And I mentioned about when we look at these kind of price, when in doubt, right? When you're in doubt, just zoom out and put the log on so you can see the price a little bit clearer. And if you can see from this correction here after this strong push down, price correct quite a bit, like almost 1 or 2 years before leading to the next impulsive phase. So naturally, we're just in the beginning of this potential correction, right? Look how deep and how long this correction goes after this strong move. So same idea could happen here, right? And this is why there's a difference between holding crypto than trading crypto. I'm fine holding crypto. I have a few different coins I'm holding, but I'm not day trading them, nor I'm trading with leverage because there's a lot of volatility, and I think there's enough risk by trading Forex, commodities, and indices already. I don't need to put myself at greater risk in this kind of scenario. So you notice that for me with crypto, I'm usually going to be investing, holding coins, or I'm not going to sell any crypto. I only like to look for buy opportunities. All right, so that should be the end. And same thing, Bitcoin, just still waiting for this consolidation to finish. Not much is really developing here, guys. So there really is no buy and sell in my view. Preferably to see the move pushes up, and we'll see if it's going to break above or it's going to have that reversal that I point out here. Okay, so that is Bitcoin. Any question here, guys? Any here question on any of the crypto? So that's it for me, crypto. Any question in general, guys? I'm happy to go through any pairs or anything that you're looking at for the remaining of the week, or you have anything you want me to take a look. I'm happy to do that for the next, 15 minutes or so. If that is going to, you guys have anything you want me to ask? Um, Kind of wondering about Euro Yen right now. Is it currently completing a correction? Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, I point out that this can be a correction, right? It's just correction comes in all shapes and sizes, right? It's not going to be textbook, always like this. You'll notice every time when I draw a correction, excuse me, when I draw a correction, I always kind of point out like something like this. You see on my charts, I always go like this. But I always talk about it's now it's going to be very straightforward. Obviously, I wouldn't know how a correction will end up developing. I'm just always pointing out there is going to be a correction, something like that to happen. Um, I do agree this could be a correction if we look closely here. there's a few swing highs and few swing lows for this correction here already, right? If you look at every single other yen pairs, it's basically same thing, right? It's basically same thing in my opinion in terms of these yen pairs. Excuse me. Right, this is something like this. Every single yen pairs are basically forming this correction. So I do agree this can be a correction. But the only thing to me is if I was going to enter this the way how I usually would enter it, I think the stop loss is a little bit wide, okay, in terms of how I would like to enter these positions. I mean, it's not wrong to enter this, first of all, right? It's actually probably better risk management when you enter something like this in this kind of breakout um, entry. But it's just like 70 plus pips to cover the top. I think it's quite big, especially if the run is going to happen. If the bearish run is going to happen, having the 70 pip is going to potentially eat away your profit because when your stop loss is wider, that means your profit is going to be less, right? Because that's 1%, 2%, 3% in relation to your 1% stop loss, as an example. Okay, so I personally, because I'm already in dollar yen, so I don't think I'm looking to enter any other yen pairs unless I can put dollar yen to break even and etc. Um, if I'm looking at euro yen, if I have to pick the best yen right now other than dollar yen, in terms of price, let me just double check. I mean, like if I have to pick the best yen, I have to say I think Kiwi yen is probably the better. I think a lot of these other yen pairs, unfortunately, they just haven't break the previous low, right? You can see this is the previous low. Yes, they're correcting, and certainly this correction could just lead to the breakout, right? But it's just that when it comes to filtering, when it comes to choosing which one you want to go for, I'm choosing the one that has slightly better confluence than the other ones, right? And also just understand if the yen pairs are going to be strength, pretty much every single yen pairs are going to drop. I think that's just the simple way to understand the correlation and things like that. Um, if the yen pairs are going to get strength, all of them are going to get strength, right? So it's just a matter of picking the best one. And honestly, in my opinion, Kiwi yen probably looked the best because this bearish move down, we actually had a little bit clear structure compared to the other yen pairs, and we had a clear kind of impulse down followed by a correction. This, if we put the, if we adjust the correction right here, it's basically a breakout, right? It's basically is breaking out of this structure here, which is nice to see, and there is quite a bit of room to the downside as well. Whereas euro yen, I can't really say this is a correction here, and it doesn't have a break this low yet, right? So that's really the difference of me choosing a different, a potential yen pairs like that. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. On 1 hour, I think it's the first correction after the breakout, the higher time frame. Um, you can show me a screenshot. I can take a look, my friend. I can't picture what you're thinking. Like if you can show me your screenshot, you're welcome to. It's actually enough. I thank you a lot. I appreciate it. No problem. Can you look at the stock called FSR? Sure. Um, Obviously, first time looking at this, I think there's a little bit contradicting bias here. Now, I see this bearish push down, followed by a reversal bullish impulse, which is good, potentially looking for continuation, right? Because every time we see an impulse, and if it's not followed by a continuation correction and it has a reversal impulse, and after the reversal impulse followed by a correction, this usually lead to a better, uh, better, higher probability of the next impulse. However, when I look at this on the lower time frame, like this is looking like it's going to develop into a head and shoulder, right? Like when we usually look for correction, like this is a clean correction I like. But you can see after breakout, just breaking a previous high, it had a reversal impulse, and if it followed by a reversal correction on the lower time frame, then this becomes a head and shoulder, and this can drop more. So this is all every time when I see price where I can really argue both scenario, uh, to me it's better for me to stay away from it. Whereas if you look at other scenarios where I can easily identify a bearish bias or a bullish bias, then those are the ones that I'm going to focus on more because that aligns up with my plan and I like those type of overall development to give me confluence to enter. Whereas something like this, just from my view, of course, it has kind of a contradicting bias, right? So I better off stay away from it. All right. So, any last minute question, guys? Any last minute question? I'm happy to go over anything. Let me just double check all the positions I'm running right now. So, dollar yen. We'll see what happens here. If it's going to consolidate lower, potentially could form a head and shoulder, which is what I like to see. But eventually, I do want to see price to break out. Right? If this breaks out followed by continuation, I would love to see. I would love to scale in here. So I'll have a first trade running, second trade running, and push down. Potentially even have a third trade running if that happens, of course, and then look for the sell down to the previous low. Dollar CAD. Talk about this after we see the price break off of this reversal correction, right? So very clean impulse. Naturally, price falls into a correction, breakout, and then if we see we have a breakout followed by a continuation correction, and then we have another breakout. So if a consolidation happens here on the lower time frame, I do expect this to push higher. Okay, and last one is silver. So silver, talk about the overall price on the higher time frame, kind of parallel channel, and I like how we failed to break this previous high with the ascending channel. We had the first impulse down followed by a correction, and because the higher time frame structure really isn't complete yet, I do want to see this short-term bearish sell to the downside and then looking for the bullish reversal. Okay, so those are the three positions that I am currently running. So dollar CAD, silver, and dollar yen are the positions I'm running right now. Okay. Can I look at gold right now? Yeah, for sure. So gold is going to be same bearish bias like I talked about in silver. I think there could be some potential selling opportunity if that fits your plan, of course. Overall, I talk about in my videos, I talk about a potential short-term sell on gold, right? I do want to see this sell to happen and then looking for the bullish reversal afterwards. So if we look at the overall price here, it does have that reversal impulse. So I'm looking to see if this correction here is going to complete. We don't know if it's going to complete. It's a little bit consolidated, right? I do see this push down followed by correction. I want to see if this is going to continue downwards. We not confirmed like silver. I think silver was a little bit better confirmation. We had the ascending channel. We had the first bearish push down. We had the correction here. I think all that is great. Whereas gold is a little bit off, right? I don't have the same ascending channel moving up, whereas silver does, but it does have the same continuation correction here. So I do reasonably want to see this correction complete, and then I do want to see the bearish push down for the price. Whether or not it will break this previous low, or whether or not we're just going to hit the bottom here and then reverse back up. Either way, I think a short-term sell here is probable, as long as based on how you want to enter, what is your risk, and how you want to manage it. That's all up to you, of course. But I do want to see a bearish push down, potentially completing the higher time frame structure, and again looking for the bullish reversal up move. In my opinion, there's going to be a very strong high probability that if this move pushes down, eventually we're going to push up and then hitting the all-time high and then continue higher, right? It's pretty clear to me overall after seeing this massive bullish push to the upside. Clearly, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, and all this becomes one big impulse for the price to correct here to resume the upside after. Okay, so that's my goal from short to mid to pretty much long-term outlook. What lot size do you typically use? Again, this is very important where I think a lot of traders misunderstand. The lot size depends on the position size, depending on your stop loss and etc. So by entering a position, let's say like dollar CAD for example. So by entering a position like this, my lot size is based on my stop loss. It's not a set number, which I always see traders, especially those Instagram traders, they're always playing 1.00 lot or 2.00 lot, and then disregard the actual currency, disregard the actual stop loss. I think that is not the right way to do it. I'm gonna say right and wrong this time. Usually, you guys know I don't like to say right or wrong, but when it comes to risk management, you should understand. Traders should understand that your stop loss, how your stop loss is affects your actual lot size, right? So if you look at my lot size here, 2.57 lot, right, or 257,000 unit, this is based on a stop loss of 40 pips, right? So I have a 40 pip stop loss, and I will calculate what is 1% of the 40 pip stop loss for me to calculate this particular position size. Okay, whereas if I have a 30 pip stop loss or a 50 pip stop loss, my lot size will be different because when I have a 50 pip stop loss, but I still want to risk 1%, my lot size is obviously going to be less than a 40 pip stop loss. And vice versa, if I have a 30 pip stop loss, my lot size in relation to 1% of my account, my lot size will be bigger. Okay, so hope that makes sense. It's all about your stop loss pips in relation to how much you want to risk to your account and identifying the lot size accordingly. So if you're not sure how to calculate lot size, it's go to Forex Pit Calculator, go to this my FX book, go to position size calculator. Position size calculator, save this. This is how you're going to calculate this out. So same example here when I talk about dollar CAD, right? So let's say I'm dollar CAD, US dollar, let's say $100,000 account. And then I want to risk 1%, right? So 40 pip stop loss, right? And so it tells you that my lot size should be 3.13 lot if I want to risk 1,000, which is 1% of my $100,000 account. With the 40 pip stop loss, I need to put 3.13 lot. Whereas the same example, if I have 50 pips, remember when I said that if your stop loss is bigger, your lot size will be smaller. See, it's now 2.5 lot, but it's still risking 1,000. And the other one I said 30 pip stop loss, which means will lead to a bigger lot size, 4.17, right? So that's how you're going to calculate your lot size amount in relation to your account size, whether you want to risk 1% or a set amount. That's how you calculate it so that you don't over risk or just choosing a round number, which is what I see a lot of traders do. Right? And especially different pairs. This is dollar CAD. If I go to euro dollar, if I have 40 pip, it's not going to be 3.13, right? You see, because the quoted currencies are quoted currencies, right? Quoted currencies are the one that's going to affect it by the actual size. So you see, even with the same $100,000 account, even with the same 1% risk, same $1,000 upfront, 40 pip stop loss, same idea, but your size will be different. Okay. So does that make sense, buddy? Hope that makes sense to understand how to calculate stop loss. I think that's really, really important to understand. Okay, so that's something that we need to understand so we don't over risk your positions or over risk your account when when you calculating the lot size. I think that's really important. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much. No worries, no worries. I spent a little bit of time explaining this because I think it's super important to understand. I just keep seeing traders, new traders or beginner traders, they're just using a round number like 1.00, right? Usually when you see those Instagram traders, they're posting trade like 1.00, 2.00, or just, for simplicity, they put 1.01, 2.01, but different currency size, different stop loss. Right away, when I see those, I know they're not trading with real money or something. It just doesn't make sense to you to trade a round size lot number and different pip stop loss on different pair. It just doesn't make sense. Especially if you have a risk management plan or if you have how much you want to risk per trade. It just doesn't make sense to have the same lot number on different pair with different stop loss. It just doesn't make sense. So when you start seeing those posts like that, try to stay away from people like that because you can tell that they're not trading with real money usually. A lot of these accounts that you see on Instagram or Facebook, things like that, it's majority of them are fake, right? Let's just be honest. They're majority fake because their sole purpose is for you to buy into whatever they're selling. Just think in their shoes, right? They need to convince you that they're doing well for you to buy into whatever they want to sell, right? So you understand that if it's something that's too good to be true, usually it is, right? So don't fall for those, guys. Don't fall for those traps. Okay, I just always get traders to message me. Usually it comes down to something like, oh, I bought into someone's course or someone's signal, and then it's like completely different than what they post on their Instagram, social media, and then I took a bunch of losses. I can't get out now. What should I do? That's usually the message I get from a lot of traders, and I mean, I can try to help them, but if they're already in deep hole, it's hard to help them in that sense, right? Unfortunately, so okay. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Okay, I hope that makes sense in terms of stop loss, things like that. Lot size position, it's super important in that sense. Okay, so just understanding that you need to calculate the lot size in relation to your account. That's the most important part. Okay. So to wrap up everything, guys, like I said, 3-position running. We'll see how all of them develop. We'll see how they go. I will update. I will do a weekly trade recap video, as I always do every single weekend, to outline all the trades that I've opened, closed, managed, whether they're win or loss, whatever. I've been doing this for a year, so I will continue to do that. That's the way to help traders understand. To be transparency and honest with yourself is the most important part. A lot of traders, they don't want to do journals. They don't want to do journals or recaps because sometimes they took a bunch of loss and they don't want to face the truth. But as a trader, you really need to face your own mistakes, right? You need to work on your mistakes. You need to work on your emotion. You need to work on your management. Overall, you need to work on your trading overall so that you can improve, right? No one is going to jump from year 1 to year 10 right away. Unfortunately, it's not how trading is, right? I always talk about trading is putting in time and effort. First few years is going to be the toughest one because you're not likely to see any potential result, but it's all a marathon, right? It's the same example I'll use is becoming a doctor, becoming a physician takes 8 to 10 years plus. Do these doctors know once they finish they're going to be wealthy? Sure they do. But do they know that they can jump from year 1 to year 10? No, they don't, right? They know that they cannot. So it's the same as trading. Just because trading doesn't have a barrier to entry, a barrier to trade, that doesn't mean that you should skip all this, right? Put in the time and effort, you'll slowly see the results. Okay? So That's it for 3 trades. And I talk about anyone who's new, you're welcome to go on my YouTube to watch all the lessons that I talk about. Price action analysis, every single videos I make about structures and corrections and things like that. Risk management, we talk about, that's super important, so go through these videos. Trading psychology is also really important about what your perspective is ultimately going to shape how you are in trading results. And TradingView, I post all my ideas, all my analysis always on TradingView, so you're welcome to check out all the ideas and things like that. It's all on TradingView. And I always update everything in my Telegram, all my trades, all my current running, all my trade that took loss, all my streams link, all my analysis, all my educational videos. Everything is in here, so you're welcome to. And I always post my journal for every single month, so you're welcome to take a look at all my journals, or you can go to my link here. For this whole year, all the journals are here. You can watch them as well. All right, so that should be it, guys. That should be it. And looking forward to this week. Like I said, I'm in vacation mode, so I'm enjoying life right now in Victoria. Those of you who don't know, Victoria is an island beside Vancouver, so we had to take the ferry over. But we got 3 more days here, so I'm very happy to enjoy a little bit getaway here. But on the weekend, I will do a recap video of all the trades that I took, and then on Monday morning, same thing, I will do the weekly trading market outlook, just like today, going through any potential opportunity for the week ahead. All right, so yeah, thank you very much, Steve. Nice to see you, buddy. So I'll wrap it up here, guys. And then go from there. So thank you very much for being here, guys. Welcome to see you guys all. Is your Oanda US dollar account? It is a US dollar account. Where does it say US dollar? Here, margin, right? It says US dollar. So that is it. So I'll wrap it up, guys. So any other question? I want to go Victoria. Are you in Canada, Trustee Harry? I can't remember if you told me this. Yeah. Last time I went to Victoria is like maybe 3-4 years ago. No, I'm not. Yeah, Victoria is nice, I think. So it's very peaceful and quiet. It's actually the capital, well, not capital. It's in British Columbia. Vancouver is not the main city. I mean, like the capital. It's actually Victoria. So. All right, so wrap it up here, guys. Any question, like I said, if you have further questions, you're welcome to ask me on Telegram or whatever, and then go from there. All right, so have a good day, everyone, wherever you guys are, and hope to see you guys all next time. All right, thank you very much.